I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the share, where Miss Dream always has a story.
I'm Dream, a black woman with many beautiful interconnecting identities. A few I will name at this moment as we get started on this podcast journey together. A Bostonian, born and raised in the inner city, Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods, to a teenage single mother who has my whole heart. An educator, I've been working with youth and children since my teenage years, and formally, I have been teaching almost a decade now. That's wild to think about. An entrepreneur, I am the founder of The Chair, a black and brown centered tech platform dedicated to supporting people on their hair journey, where you can design hair boards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a more joyous experience. I have a workable site, my prototype. It took me 2 years to build, and now I'm on this adventure that you're currently on with me. My goal for this podcast is to share stories, black stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and hair stories. I want you to leave each episode with the opportunity to gain new insight, just a glimpse into my world or the worlds that are featured on my podcasts, a little chuckle during your day or night, possibly a little anger to encourage you to advocate for justice, and hope to continue learning and dreaming. So come in and listen to the beautiful voices in the chair as they share their stories, starting with me.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Ashley. Ashley, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Ashley. That's it. No, I'm just playing. I'm very excited to be here today, coming live from the Bay Area. Yes. I don't know. It's always the open-ended question of introduce yourself. What do I say? Sorry, maybe I wasn't joking when I said I'm Ashley. That's it.
That is A-okay. Ashley and I met at UCLA, where we both received our master's in education, focused on urban education and social justice. Ashley, Jenna, and I were a little bit of chocolate chips in our program. And I was the only one from the East Coast. And so I was like, this is a new experience. But Ashley was so welcoming and so proud of California, and just the sweetest and just very kind when it came to introducing me to California, introducing me to Black California. There's always a special place in my heart for that.
Aw, thank you. And I do love California, so it's so great to hear you say that. I am very much a California girl, only ever lived in California my whole life. And as much as I love other places, I do not see myself living anywhere else if
Yeah,
I can help it.
valid.
But
The intensity when you meet a Bostonian, it's the same when
yeah,
you meet a Californian.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. You gotta have some, you gotta have a little pride in where you're from. So,
Absolutely. I think one of the intense memories I have, it was November, and we had to go to like our math class with Dr.
uh-huh.
Megan Franklin, and you
hmm
came in with some Uggs and like a jacket on, and I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and I was like, what is going on? And you were like, it's fall. And I said, stop lying.
Right. Exactly. I'm like, look at the calendar. It says it's November. That means it's fall. And you're like, girl. My favorite was always wearing my rain boots in LA. It like rains for 10 minutes. It's not real, but for those few little raindrops, I'm ready. Well, I'm not gonna have wet socks, and that's important to me.
It's a fashion statement. It was definitely
It's a fashion
with
statement.
the umbrellas, and I said it rained for 2 seconds.
Exactly.
Everybody needs to calm down over
Exactly.
here.
And it's not even real rain, right? It's just mist. It's like
Mm,
misting for
mm.
2 seconds, and it's you're gonna be okay, you're not gonna melt, but no, we have to eat especially LA weather, you gotta play it up, be a little dramatic about it, otherwise, when else am I gonna get to wear a jacket? So,
Valid.
yeah.
So, Ashley, even though we met in an education program, was education always the route you knew you would go?
Hmm. No, I actually grew up wanting to be a doctor.
Mm,
I have a sister who has cerebral palsy, and so twice a year, I believe, she sees a neurologist just to further understand her condition and adjust medications if needed, or if life events happen, she checks in with the neurologist. And so my sister had a seizure one day, and then maybe a week or so later, we go to the neurologist for a checkup. And I, to this day, have never forgotten that interaction. I was like 5,
mm,
and I'm sitting there with my mom and sister, and the doctor walks in, and she asks my mom a series of questions that were actually like yes or no questions. I'm saying that because my mom just sat the whole time and said, "Yep, yes, uh-huh," just affirmed everything she said.
mm.
And then the doctor was like, "Okay, now we're gonna do blah 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 blah. Come back in this amount of time," and that was it. And I was like, "Is this lady a witch? Like, how does she know all of these things that happened and she wasn't there?" And so I was so curious about what medicine was and how it like how someone could have such a rich understanding of something without being there,
Mm,
and then how she knew how to ask, like, I what I really held on to all these years is how she was able to ask all of the right questions to where my mom only said yes the entire time we were in that was the entire patient encounter. My mom just saying yes over and over again.
mm,
And I was like, wow, how'd you do that? And so then I started becoming interested in medicine. I read a lot when I was a kid. So I like read different little books or those like books about the body where you get to
mhm.
learn about different systems and stuff. I collected a bunch of those. I watched shows. I remember I was a big ER fan, that like old show. I
Yes.
watched ER a lot. I watched House was my favorite show growing up, and
Same,
like
same.
kind of the mystery of it all. So I was very, very interested in medicine, which is actually what I went to UCLA for undergrad as well. So that's why I went to UCLA.
Mm,
I came in declared a neuroscience major and was like, perfect. I'm on the path. Like, I'm coming to UCLA for undergrad. I will go to UCLA for medical school, and then I will be a neurologist. Done. And so, yeah, that's like what I wanted to do until I got to UCLA. And then the science classes kicked my butt. And I was like, well, let me think about something else. What else do I like to do? Because this is not it. And like many students of color, like many women that are interested in the sciences, I have that unfortunately typical story.
mm,
But I went to a high school that was very passionate about educating its students about education. So I was at a charter school for high school, and it was a part of the school culture that students went to district board meetings. And
mm,
it was a part of the school culture of which one of us are going to speak to the board about whatever issues happening at our school. Or when our charter was up for renewal, it was like this big, like, we went in droves, like bus loads of kids pulled up to the district board meeting after hours. Like they're always like, what, 6 p.m. or so.
mm,
And we all pulled up and we're like there in support of our school and support of our charter. We understood kind of what we were within. And it was a very powerful thing for predominantly Black high school students to be, or the school is predominantly Black, right? So having these Black high school students knowledgeable about their their educational environment,
mm.
knowledgeable about their education. It was a part of the culture. We knew like A through G standards. We knew kind of what was like going on. And so me being the person who's trying to have the best application for school,
Mm,
I picked up a lot of extracurriculars, and because of the type of school I was at, all of my extracurriculars, most of them I should say, had to do with like leadership, but within education. right? So leadership in advising students in like educational capacities or leadership in advocating for the school. I sat on like student boards where we got to, it was like a student advisory board that met with district leaders. And so I and one other student from our school represented the school to the district. I like interned in the mayor's office in his like education unit, like did different things like that. And so I kind of throughout high school developed an interest in education and how people learn, how we know what we know, and blah 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 blah. And so coming to UCLA, I kind of had that in the back of my mind that education is something I'm interested in, but I just used to say I never want to be a teacher. Ew, like I don't like kids. Um, it's so funny because people will be like, "Yeah, girl, we can't see you as a teacher either," and I was like, "Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be a teacher because."
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hair boards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new, joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hair boards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife. In the chair, the chair, the chair. All right.
Fast forward 4 years, and then I was like, I want to be a teacher. So yeah, that's how I kind of like made my switch into education. Fell in love with it at UCLA. I always describe it as a time when I learned the most about myself. I'd never seen myself in a classroom. As rich as my experience, my high school experiences were, I wasn't taught to reflect on my individual story as much as I was taught to do that in education courses at UCLA.
Do you have a class or an assignment that you can remember to the day that you
Mm,
like this is how I saw myself?
Yeah, two things come to mind that I continue to write and talk about to this day.
Mm.
One being it's Education 130, it's race, class, and inequality in education. And typically, Dr. Howard, shout out,
Hey.
teaches that class. And the one quarter I was ready to take it, he didn't teach it. And I said, "Dang." But it was the first time I had a Black woman teacher. I'd
Mm.
never had a Black I never had a Black teacher, and then I never had a Black female teacher. And so Dr. Ramo Reynolds, he's kind of like a visiting lecturer, visiting professor, I should say, from I want to say like University of Michigan or so,
Mm.
somewhere kind of Midwest, East Coast. And she was just, I was like, whoa, like she's like me. If I was a teacher, I feel like that would be how I am. Like
Mm.
she was cracking jokes. She seemed very comfortable up front and was very direct, very honest about the inequalities in education, about the racial experiences that various individuals had in school and things like that. And so that was the first time I learned about a microaggression. I'd never
Mm.
heard that word before, or stereotype threat. I never heard that word before,
Mm.
or that term before. And so each week, the way the course was laid out was like each week we learned and reflected on a different topic in education. And each week I saw myself differently in education. I was like, what? That wasn't just me. That was like stressed out about performing
Mm-hmm.
against I felt against my like white peers in the classroom. That happens to everybody. What other people in class felt weird about when their hair was like in a natural state
Mm-hmm.
and not straight, and like all these little things that happen to black children in schools I was seeing in textbooks. So I was noticing that people have spent their entire careers understanding and producing work around a thing that is a phenomenon, and it's not just unique to me.
Mm.
And that just really inspired and encouraged me to continue down the road. And I think it still does today. The other experience was in sociology of education course, and it was taught by this Irish woman who I loved, and she was so supportive and did such an excellent job in connecting me to resources throughout the campus. And so I credit her so much for helping me to encouraging me to pursue my interest. But
Mm.
Dr. O'Malley is her name, and Dr. O'Malley asked the question to the class. It was like, what are the positive attributes to being black? Like, why is it good to be black? Was like kind of the point of the question.
Mm.
And I was like, dang, that's a good question. And she's just gonna, and this is at UCLA. And so it's like, I'm definitely the only black person in the class. There's a bunch of white and Asian people around me.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, I just sat there, well, don't all turn to me. Let's see what y'all got to say. And it was so cool to see all these hands go up around the room.
Mm.
And I was like, dang, all right, y'all tell me, like, what's so good about being black? And of course, we're talking about it in an educational context. And they talked everyone in the room, the different people in different backgrounds. Again, I'm the only black one though, didn't participate in this conversation on purpose.
Mm.
But they talked about being able to code switch. They talked about being able to, they acknowledged the barriers that black students have to face and the resiliency that it takes to overcome them. They talked about knowing how to ask questions and in certain instances challenge authority. They talked about these things that are oftentimes framed as potentially negative things,
Mm-hmm.
and highlighted them as, no, it's good that they're able to do that. It's good, that's something that other people of other backgrounds should learn from, and it would be good if we could be more of that. And I was just like, wow, like I've never been affirmed in my blackness before this moment. And for this moment to happen in an education course, and for this moment to happen in a room where I'm the only black person in the room, it was really powerful and obviously very memorable. So those are the two things that made me say, okay, well, let me continue down this road. What does education have to offer?
Mm.
How can I used to say all the time as a first generation college student, I used to be so mad sometimes at what I was learning in school, in
Mm.
college, because I was like, it did not take me going to college to learn what a microaggression was. You know what I mean? Or it shouldn't have taken me 21 years to feel affirmed in my blackness in school. Like, no. And so that's what really drove me to being passionate about teaching. And then that's when the shift came of, okay, I want to become an elementary school teacher. I want to catch them while they're young. The younger, the better. To infuse those little spongy brains with affirmations of self, with awareness of the world and the environment that they're in, with appreciation, with asset based thinking, with practicing gratitude for what is around you, with being appropriately ambitious and striding after things that you want. So those that's where some of that like fire, I would say, was doused with gas. So those courses had me, I was ready to go. And so I'm really grateful and proud of myself for seeing those through and seeing things through in so many different ways.
That's really interesting. You were affirmed in high school through understanding like this is what it means to be empowered to talk to the district, to be empowered to talk to these people with power to think about how your education experience would be better.
Mhm.
And at the same time, at your school, you didn't have any black teachers, but you had a predominantly black school that didn't
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
affirmations of self.
Mhm.
And
Mm-mm.
eh, that's wild.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't until later that I learned that, particularly my freshman year of high school, most of the teachers were Teacher America teachers.
Mm,
And then but my high school was unique in that they had finished their like term of service and then stayed at the school. And so most of them stayed at the school for 5, 6 years. But then again, then later I learned, oh, they stayed at that maybe they stayed at the school because they were looking for that loan forgiveness.
mm.
Maybe they stayed at the school. You know what I mean? What a coincidence. Everyone left after 5 years.
The chair.
Oh, and if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere: Captured Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show.
The chair.
I will say that I did feel heavily invested in by the leadership of the school. Charter schools have a governing like board
Mm-hmm.
that creates some of the guidelines for the school and things. And so that board felt very present on our campus and invested in our well-being and success. Our teachers felt invested in our well-being and success and really spent time investing in us as students. It felt like our minds were poured into in terms of believing in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that what was positive, right, is that we were able to believe in ourselves and advocate for ourselves. I think that was a big part of being at the school. Everyone saw themselves as an advocate of
Right.
self and of others.
Mm-hmm.
But that identity development, like that piece was
Is
not developed very directly, very strongly. We did talk about why do you think the district is we used to say the district is hating on us. And so it's like, why is the district hating on Sac High when they're pouring in all this money into these other schools? Well, let's look at what are some of the differences between our school and this school. Why are all of the schools that are predominantly black in the district failing or closed? And then what about the other schools? What are the demographics? What can we say about those communities and things like that? So we definitely had some we had awareness. We knew we were a black school, and my school was like
mm-hmm.
we had a band and band dancers. We were the little baby HBCU. To the best of its ability, it was giving that. We had a step team. Like it was a very black high school, and so we were aware of our blackness and able to celebrate it in many ways. But it wasn't named, right? It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like direct in the way that she's been able to even highlight just from hearing me talk about it. It wasn't that at all. So.
I think about when I talk to white teachers, like in my career, when I moved back to the East Coast, it was always like, oh, we're building advocates and we're empowering, but identity development is something that is not my job. So it was like this
Mhm,
separation thing. So hearing that is like being like, again, you're empowered in this way, but the identity development was a whole different. It was like where
mhm,
I'm aware of my blackness, but that is not necessarily connected to empowerment. And then you go to college, to UCLA, and you have a black woman professor and a white woman professor just being like, here are all these ways that your identity can be
mhm,
empowering and how you can see yourself within yourself.
mhm,
And,
mhm.
and looking at it in this affirming way, even though here are all these societal things here, because all the books that are like resilience is not always the best thing, and grit is not always the
Right,
best thing, and
right,
here are all these
mhm,
things that are terrible about all these things that they say are positive. Then
yeah,
what the balance is? What does that look like when we have to versus this is how we feel
mhm,
in that moment?
mhm. Yeah, I think that identity is one of those things that kinda happens the development happens passively in education. And so that's actually one of the things that I am really excited to learn more about in my next round of my educational pursuit
Yeah.
is understanding
Come,
how
come on,
uh,
doctorate. We're being the doctor.
no, come on now, come on now. Uh, but yeah, I'm a start the education psychology program with special attention to Black youth and understanding how educational environments impact their identity development. Because I believe that I am so fascinated by the variety of life outcomes, particularly for Black youth, and what contributes to that. And so that and talk about like families, right? Where you have two sisters and they're so different from each other, but they grew up in the same conditions, same environment, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so different, right? And so thinking about that, but in a educational setting is something that really excites and interests me because like I said, I think it just happens really passively. I think teachers are we wear so many different hats. And so you're thinking like, okay, well, if I do this, this is all encompassing, right? If I talk about growth mindset,
Mm.
that is your identity development because I'm telling you that you're a writer. I'm telling you that you're this, but it's disconnected from racial identity development. And so I am interested in specifically Black identity development and how we come to believe certain things about ourselves because I don't think that just repeating something I think that's why the psychology part is interesting to me because I'm like, is it truly just repetition? If I just say I'm a millionaire 10 times a day for a whole year, will I become a millionaire? I feel like there has to be some supporting action at some point, right? Or there has to be some environment. There has to be something else. Like I can't just hear an affirmation and repeat an affirmation and that thing become true or is that how it works? And I'm like missing out on millions. What's going on? So, so I'm really interested in the racial identity development, and I think also just my own racial identity being developed in so many different ways, passively and directly over time, has me interested in. Some of it is how to prevent what's happened to me to happening to other people.
Mm.
And then some of it is to hopefully encourage and inspire some new ways of thinking about even some of the good stuff that happens. Like times have changed, people are different. How can we acknowledge Black youth for who they are and where they are today? How can we learn to celebrate ourselves better? How can we learn to acknowledge our weaknesses and our struggles in a way that is, and also like not something that's a true barrier for us.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for sitting in the chair and sharing your stories. It means the most to me.
Thank you so much. This is so cool. I'm like so proud of you and all that you're doing and all that you've done. I'm like, dang, Dream be going. She don't stop. She don't stop. Definitely a runner. That's what I'm like. That's how I see you. I'm like, you are such a runner, and a leader. I mean, even while we were in PEP, the way that you so boldly and rightfully questioned things and advocated for yourself and for others. But I asked about you. It was really it's always inspiring to see that, and especially Black women being able to advocate for yourself. And I think sometimes it's easy to let things happen to you or just accept conditions for what they are. But I really appreciated that saying now is speak truth to power. It's like definitely felt like you embodied that in the purest ways while we were at UCLA. So I think that's very admirable. And I just know that that's still a big part of who you are. And I'm so encouraged by that. So please do not stop being you. We love you for all that you are. And I am so grateful that I got to participate in what you're doing. And I hope to continue to participate in what you're doing. You're always doing such cool stuff. So please reach out to me too.
Yes, of course.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dream always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I, of course, would love your continued support. Let me know what you think of this episode by doing all the things. Subscribe, comment, and come back next week, every week. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Or if you are like me, enjoy that moonlight and that one star under all your city lights. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
How long I gotta wait for a person to record?
Go.
We support her. Shit.
Do your. Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dream always has a story. Where we share.